There's a moment in business when hustle no longer serves you. And this is when opportunity usually increases. Hey, I'm Shayla Boyd-Gill, the Luxe business mentor and the creator of the Luxe scaling system. Do me a favor. If you've not engaged with me yet, make sure that you subscribe, like this video, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything. No one talks about this, but let's really chat about when opportunity becomes an actual problem. See, you get to the place where you start getting more invitations. Up to this point, you've built the business, you did everything that you needed to do, and you've been seeking the invitations. And now lots of invitations are coming your way. But are they always the right invitation? I understand this because as someone that's been able to build a business, I know that you can be tempted to accept all invitations because you want to belong, you want to say that you did a thing, but not every invitation is the right invitation for you. Another thing that presents itself as opportunity would be ideas. If you're like me, you have lots of ideas. And if you've gotten your business to the point where it's 6 figures or more, I guarantee you the ideas continue to pop. But what you have to now do is decide, where do these ideas go? Do they belong in your everyday path? Just because you have an idea, does it mean that you need to act on it now, or should it be in a later pile or a never pile? This is where we have to be really honest with ourselves and decide, where do you want to put your energy? Ideas are wonderful, but it doesn't mean that every idea needs to be acted on, especially doing it immediately if it's going to be a distraction. Another thing you may find is an opportunity can present itself as more access. Maybe let's look at it twofold. Maybe your clients have more access to you. You've finally landed this big client that you want. And the thing that you tend to give up when opportunity presents itself is access. You associate more money with more access. They're paying more, so they should have more of you. In addition, it could be your team. Maybe your team has lots of access to you, or you have lots of access to them. Does that always pale out the way that it needs to? You may have even hired someone to consult or do some other work with you, and you have more access to them. But the thing that you have to ask yourself is, looking at your timing, do you really need that access right now? Or is it just a nice thing to have? This is where we're being really honest, and I need you to lean into this conversation and stay with me here. As these opportunities are presenting themselves and you're growing, your business is growing, the thing that will happen is we sometimes have less clarity because you're making bigger decisions. You are building for something that you've never built for before. And so you need that clarity around what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and the time frame in which it needs to get done. And when we're missing pieces of that clarity, these opportunities can get in the way of what you really want. So you want to be super mindful of that, because at this stage, saying yes can cost so much more than saying no. The reality is that hustle can often persist beyond its usefulness. See, I know that your identity as a business owner, as a CEO, as this woman business owner was built on productivity. The more you do, the harder you do it, the better you get. And that worked for you up to a certain point. We were celebrated for that. But in that, you lost who you were. You lost what you were building for, and you just started building to check the boxes. And this becomes a major problem. When you're chasing, you develop this fear of missing momentum. If I don't work hard now, I'm going to possibly miss out on something. I'm going to miss another opportunity. And so you continue to chase. But when you're chasing, you can also burn out because you can only go but so far with that idea. You become conditioned to equate movement with growth. So have you ever had this point where you're looking at your calendar and you're like, okay, there's not enough there. I don't feel like I'm doing enough. Or you're working, but you feel like you're still behind. If I were able to do more, I would have more opportunities. I would grow faster. I would be able to scale. Have you ever told yourself that? It's a very false impression, and I'm not sure where exactly this comes from beyond the hustle culture that exists out there, but it's a dangerous line for you to tell yourself and just a dangerous thing to actually believe. See, I know that hustle can feel like you're being responsible. That's until it gets in the way of what you're really focusing on. So what does it take to really be discerning? There are 4 things. Number 1, you need to have self-trust. Somewhere along the line, you started giving away your self-trust. We initially had a self-trust when we started our business. We had that self-trust to be able to hustle and do what was necessary to grow the business. And at a certain point, many people will give that self-trust away to a mentor, some kind of guide, a consultant, someone, some guru that you've seen online. And instead, you take on getting them to trust, getting their trust and trusting what they're saying, but not going back and asking yourself, does it align? And so you've given away your trust. That self-trust no longer exists. And then you start doubting the things that you're doing. You doubt your actions. You doubt your path. You doubt the growth, and you need someone else to reassure you. That's giving away your power. Number 2 is having an awareness of your context. In past videos, and I have a link up here, we talked about context and advice and just understanding how you're making your decisions. Those decisions need to be based on data. It needs to be based on history. It needs to be based on what's been tried, what's worked, what's not worked, where you are, and what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. But when you throw context out and make blanket decisions, that can erode any discernment that you possibly have. Number 3 is being brutally honest about your capacity. This is where we play games with ourselves, okay? Let me be the first one to raise my hand here. When we say we can take on more, we want to do more, but you really don't have the capacity to do that, and you force yourself to, and then you resent the actions, the growth, the way in which you've been able to build because it's not something that is sustainable, and you weren't discerning in that process of deciding what you have the capacity for. This creates an internal problem and external, as a matter of fact. Number 4 is having clear priorities. See, you have to know where you want to go. You have to be super clear about that. There's something about having vision, knowing what you want, knowing a strategy to get you there, and then having the ability to take the proper actions to meet the goal. But when the vision is too broad and it's not lasered in, it's hard to tell which thing that you need to do is a priority. And I'm always asking myself when I make decisions, is this aligned with the vision? Is it really a priority, or is it something that someone else can handle, or is it something that doesn't need to be handled at all? But you have to know what to base your priorities on. Just to be general and say, oh, this is a priority, this isn't a priority. Why? Why is it a priority, and why is it not a priority? There has to be some clarity when it comes to making that decision. So your discernment isn't something that's just passive. This is about being decisive. And one of the things that I can tell you, especially working with my clients, is I love working with a woman that knows what she wants. She has that ability to be decisive and not kind of get wonky when it comes to making those decisions. When you know where you're going and what you want, it's so much easier to have a clear yes or a clear no about your next steps. So if you feel like you're being pulled in many directions, don't assume that you need to be more disciplined. Ask yourself the question, do I need clearer discernment in this moment? Just know that this is the work that happens before real momentum returns. I hope this speaks to you, and if it does, make sure you comment below and let me know.